are not here, running a challenge could actually be one of the first things you do to gain traction, to gain your first few clients, and to start showing people who you are and what you do. You could also turn a freebie. So you may have dove into the freebie module. I know Elka created an amazing freebie that I had a chance to look at last week. So she could technically turn her freebie into a challenge. This is just a way to start building momentum. So I'm going to walk you through this. You can always rewatch this video in the future, but I kind of want to give you an explanation so that you're not like, what was that challenge thing that I was supposed to do to get my first few clients? So a challenge is just like it sounds. It is literally a chance to challenge your community for 3, 4, 7 days, whatever you think is necessary. And the goal is to encourage people to take action on something that's been troubling them. And then through that 3 or 5 or 7 day challenge, they get a transformation, okay? So for example, they go from being a carnivore and eating only meat, and your challenge is like the 50% meatless challenge. So every day you're showing people how to cut their meat by 50%. And by the end of the week, half of their plate is vegetables and only half of it is meat. So if that was your philosophy, that would be a great challenge. I'm sure you've all seen or been part of challenges at the gyms you've gone to, right? Why do they run these 30-day transformation programs? It's to get you inside the gym, get you committed to a start date, get your money on the line, and then feel a sense of community in what you're doing. You're all going for a similar result, which is weight loss, strength gain. Why does that work for a gym? Because people love a challenge, right? So that's a little bit about why we might do them. I'm just going to unlock the waiting room. Give me one sec. Always forget where that is. Okay, cool. Challenges can be hosted like at the gym in person. They can also be hosted online very, very easily through things like Facebook or through an email. So you can picture it in any which way you want. It'll be specific to the result you're looking to provide. But that's just the point. I just love watching their little heads, is to get people results, okay? Because imagine you get a 7-day free trial of something, anything, and it's something you're struggling with. 7-day free trial of a gym. And you participate in a challenge to go to the gym every day for 7 days. And then you start feeling better and you start to notice like you're a little bit more toned. What do you do after that? You get into a sales conversation with the gym owner and you've signed up for a year-long membership, right? Because you're like, I feel awesome. I want to keep this going for the rest of my life. Or for me, for example, I run challenges around starting your online business. And then after I've given people kind of the framework of how to do it, I'll say, okay, well, I've got the rest of the tools you need. So that would be kind of an overview of what the challenge actually is. In terms of why you might host one, for starters, it's a great way to practice teaching a small version of your product, program, or service, okay? So you can give people like a little introduction as to what you do. So it's almost like going to Costco and getting a sample, right? We can do that through literally getting on the phone with someone for 10 minutes and giving them a sample, or we can do that through running a challenge over a few consecutive days. Another reason to run a challenge is that you can actually build community around your vision. So you're rallying people together who potentially will believe what you believe or want to learn more about what you believe in. It's a great chance for your dream clients to get to know you, understand your values as a coach or as a teacher or as a leader or as a business owner. And it's a good chance for you to drill down deep on a specific topic, because a lot of us feel like, okay, well, we have a lot of things we could share. Why not pick one thing and create some really specific recommendations or challenges around that, and you'll become known for that one thing, okay? So how do you host a challenge? Whoops. So one of the easiest ways to do it is going to be through a Facebook group or an email list, but there are infinite ways to host it, and you can get creative based on how you are comfortable. One of the easiest ways, open up a Facebook group, call it the 4-day comfortable on camera challenge, and then bring people in. Give them the link to the group and say, come on in, I'll do a live, I'll share some tips and tricks, and we'll get some conversation going around, why we're not comfortable on camera, whatever the case is. Or you could do it via email. Start building a few people onto your email list by saying, hey, I'm hosting a 4-day comfortable on camera challenge. Just join my email list, and every morning at 10 a.m., I'll send you like 2 lines. Here's how to practice your camera skills today. So again, a challenge can look really, really complicated, or it could be so simple, like getting people to spend 1 minute doing breath work, right? Like give them a 1-minute guided meditation each morning. So secret is out. This is how I started to build my business. And this is how I got the first few enrollees inside the Visionary Method 3 years ago. I ran a challenge with, at the time, it was called the Idea to Income Challenge. And what I was doing was I was helping people explore the idea for a business in their head to see if it could turn into an income. And we did things like writing out a mini business plan and writing out your vision and uncovering what are the expenses associated with this idea. Who could you rally for support? So there was 5 days of content. I had about 20 people join, and I worked really hard for those 20 people. I was like, there's got to be people out there who want this. And then from that, I actually had 3 people from that challenge join the Visionary Method because they saw potential in their idea. And I was like pouring value into them. I was like, let's really explore this. Let's get on a call. Let's talk about your idea. So this is such a good way to kind of shift people from being a follower into a curious follower into a paying client. And welcome to Carrie and Marissa and Amelia and Susan. Amelia, we'll get started at 12:30 with your segment, which reminds me I should have a watch nearby to me. And in the meantime, you can learn about how to run a free challenge, which you probably already do. In terms of the challenge as well, it's important to think about what topic you really want to teach on, because it has to be something that excites you to the bone. Because if you're going to use this to rally your first few clients, to rally your first few paying customers, they need to see that it is a topic you're super passionate about, right? Like I love helping people. Even before I created the Idea to Income Challenge, I just liked having coffee dates with my friends. And they'd be like, I've always wanted to enroll in yoga teacher training, but I don't know. And I loved like prying. I'm like, what's holding you back? What would be the cost of it? Do you have that money? Have you looked into studios? Do you have any friends who have done it that you could ask? So I knew for me, I wanted to run a challenge around asking people questions to see if there was a potential idea in their head that they could really bring to fruition for the first time. So I want you guys to think, like, if you had to teach a challenge next week that hopefully is somewhat related to your business idea, because it's a funnel that you kind of want to bring people on and say, like, here's a taste of what you could get if you worked with me. What would you teach on? How could you get someone a quick win or a fast success? A quick win or a fast success. Okay? Because the goal of the challenge is for someone to see results. If they don't see results, then they might be like, oh, well, Erin's product isn't that good because I did this challenge and I gained weight, not lost it, or something like that, right? Like if that was Erin's product was a weight loss coach, for example. Or if Eric is like, I'm going to help you get comfortable on camera. And then he just like pushes everyone into doing their first Facebook Live. And then everyone fumbles over their words and they don't feel prepared, but you made them do it. And then they just got mortified and had to go off social media for a year. Well, that's not really good, right? We want people to have a quick win or a fast success. So think about what you could do, breaking it down into like micro steps, and what you would do to give someone either that quick win or that fast success. Again, making sure it's something you love to teach about. So I see Carrie on the call. So Carrie is likely going to do something around an organization challenge, right? So it's rooted in your product, your service, or your offer. And then just thinking about a few things like, what does your community need to be aware of? What do they need to believe in before they buy your product or service? Like maybe if you run, I don't know, a 1-year diet overhaul and it makes you go gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free. Maybe what they need to be aware of is that sugar, dairy, and gluten are actually causing them to have eczema, psoriasis, and skin issues, right? Maybe they don't even know that, okay? So think about what they need to become aware of before they're gonna wanna pay you for a product or service. Because the truth is, a lot of your dream clients, they don't even know they have a problem, right? Carrie's dream clients, for example, they probably have closets that are absolute mayhem, and they don't realize that that is causing them so much stress. And then they're like unleashing on their kids, and then in the morning they're trying to get an outfit on and they're just like, I have no clothes, right? So bringing them to awareness that, is your closet triggering you every single morning? Okay, join the 5-day closet transformation program, or whatever the case is, okay? There's so many amazing people on this call today that I just keep seeing come through the screen. I love it. A couple other logistics, thinking about why should a person join, okay? So if you're gonna kind of do this exercise after the call or grab the workbook inside of Teachable, think about why they should join. There needs to be a compelling reason. Like by the end of this, it's the same as what we talked about on the last call. Island A, Island B. You're on Island A, my challenge will get you to Island B. On Island B, you walk into your closet, you know exactly where everything is, everything fits you. There's no more clothes that you wore in your tween years, like get those out of there. So make sure it is a compelling reason for them to join. And then all you need to do, and the workbook really prompts you through this, is to simply hit on how many days is it going to take to get them this transformation. Really, really micro doses. We're not trying to overwhelm people here. We're trying to keep it so simple, like a 20-minute at most task, because most people don't have an extra 2 hours a day to devote to your challenge, okay? So on that note, I want you to take a minute just to think about what a challenge could be that would segue people into your paid offer. Okay, so take a second, think about it. And then if somebody wants to either share their idea or potentially ask a question, if you're like, tell us, what is my challenge? I have zero idea. Then I'm more than happy to chat about that. So think about it for a moment. You guys may have seen I ran a challenge, I guess it was 3 weeks ago now, and it was a social media detox. And because I have a social media course that stands alone, that costs $200, so it's on my website, available anytime, what I did was I looked at who joined that challenge and participated in it. And then there were certain people that I sent an email sequence to after that I was like, you know, now that you've detoxed, do you want to learn more about how to strategize your social media so that it brings you more joy, blah, 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 blah. So again, it's a chance to capture people, share your value, and then if it feels right to you, serve them with your product or your service, okay? I'm sure all of you have been part of challenges too. Can anyone think of a challenge they were recently part of?
Yours.
Mine. Any other one that you can remember? Yeah, Sue?
I don't know if it was a challenge actually, but Carrie did run a decluttering she called it declutter bugs or something, and it was we went into a different section of the house every so often, care. And it was helpful and it was good, and we kind of spiraled each other along. But I don't know if it necessarily maybe as yours was, let's see if we can do this. Although, would you call it a challenge, Karen?
No, I don't think I would, because we were in a group setting and I was trying to guide them through different ways of
Maybe.
organizing, more like trying, what did we call it not too long ago, where we're kind of seeing if there's a need for it, right? So I was kind of testing kind of what I could do within this group and getting feedback and kind of guiding me in that way. But a challenge would be something more specific and short, like 3 days or, you know, so I haven't really done a challenge yet in that sense.
I feel like you probably would already have all the content together though, Carrie, just based on like different blogs maybe you've written or social media posts. So maybe try and establish some framework around it, and then we can work to fill the challenge with whatever your goal number of people, 20, 30 people, and you'd be shocked at the amount of people who then want more from you. They're like, do you have something else to offer me now that I've finished your free challenge? Because I got great results from it. So I think you're at a good spot to actually launch a challenge.
Well, I think in my group, I'm giving away too much, to be honest.
There is definitely the curse of thinking you're giving away too much. My experience is that you can't really give away too much, because a lot of people will actually need your accountability and your eyes on their life and their lifestyle to actually achieve the results. So keep dripping them content. I'd be happy to actually, check in to see like, what are you telling them to do? But I find that being generous and providing value only will bring you more people, because it really brings their awareness to their problem to a whole new level. So we can work on the wording, and maybe it's your call to actions that we want to tweak. But over delivering is something that I don't want you to be concerned about, because people probably really appreciate that in you. And sometimes if you do feel like you're giving too much, try and always think, okay, give them the what, but don't tell them the how. So maybe you bring awareness to the fact that your closet is tearing apart your joy in a day. And you give a couple tips for, like, you may want to reorganize your underwear drawer, but don't tell them how, okay? Because they still want to know how to organize their underwear drawer, but you didn't actually tell them to like roll all their little underwears and bras and all that stuff, how to fold their socks. Great example, right? Maybe I'm saying that because mine is a mess. But yeah, deliver them the what, hold back a bit on the how.
I wanted to say I technically am part of a challenge right now on top of everything.
You would be.
I know. I don't know if I'll actually do it, but even just to see what the content is, even if I don't do it, it was just interesting. So, and it's from Kelsey, the other group that we're part of, the Archangel one. So Danny's course on creating online courses.
Yeah.
So I started reading his ebook, and it's free until today if anybody wants to download it on Amazon. So it's called Teach Your Gift. And it's specific to like packaging your content into online courses. And I just thought it'd be interesting to hear his take on how to package things in the online course industry.
Amazing.
And then sort of pair that with your knowledge in terms of launching and how to like market it and everything.
Yeah.
So one of the things he says is really interesting, and Carrie, I think applies to what you were just saying too, is that the idea that knowledge is cheap, but education is expensive. So like you can buy a book on CPR, but you don't necessarily know how to perform it, and you're not certified to be able to do it. So even if you're giving away the knowledge of how to organize, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's capable of doing it. And that's where they need you to guide them through it and teach them specifically how to apply those skills. So yeah, like if you're just putting the knowledge out there, it's still valuable, but it doesn't have the same value as if you are actually helping them to apply it. So I thought that was really interesting. That was something that I read last night in this book.
I love that quote. Yeah. The difference between knowledge and education. Erin, I love how you've got like so many sounds on.
My dog's barking, broken her iPad,
That's awesome. Yeah. So if anyone wants to jam out on this topic, please message me and we can do either a one-on-one call or we can just chat about it through the Facebook group, because I want to see you starting to assemble some sort of challenge. You could pop that into a freebie or a lead magnet. You could run it with like your sister or your brother and just be like, hey, does this work? Like, we don't need to keep overcomplicating things. We got to start grassroots, right? It's like, just get somebody some results, and a challenge is one really amazing way to do that. So I will leave my calendar open if anyone wants to jam on that or brainstorm, but we're going to pause it there because we do have a special guest today. I'm just going to take a moment to admit some people from the waiting room. 2 seconds. And I know Amelia can definitely relate to all the kids around because she's got one at home too.
Yeah, my baby's napping, so I'm enjoying my coffee.
Yes, you look very serene right now.
About 1 hour.
I love it. And thank you for spending some quiet free time with us. So I'm super excited to have you here, Amelia. You're the founder and creative director of Simply Elaborate. And I was introduced to your work long before I actually chatted with you because some of my past clients actually had websites built by you and your team. And I'd always be like, wow, what a beautiful website. And they'd be like, yeah, cool. Like, let's talk about other things now. But I never actually knew who built the website. So finally made the connection. And sure enough, it was you and your company, Simply Elaborate. So today, Amelia is going to be sharing some ways to use websites to attract our dream clients to obviously have money making business, because people are Googling all of you, or they will be, and your website is what's going to pop up. So just going to admit one more person here. And
I know all the new rules with Zoom.
I know. I kind of have the waiting room on and off sometimes, but so yeah, that's my little intro on you. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass it over to you for the next 25 minutes or so. However
Awesome.
long you need to enlighten all of us.
Awesome. Before I start though, do you still have that link that I gave you for the worksheet?
I do. Do you want me to pop that in the chat?
Yeah, that would be great, because I didn't remember to write the second, even though I've been sitting here for 10 minutes.
No problem. So let me stop the share. Do you want me to put the workbook up on the screen share?
Can I share my screen, because I've got slides, and then
yeah.
And then if you miss it, Kelsey has the links. She could share it. It's a Google Doc. Just so you know, it's a view only. So if you just go to File, Make a Copy, you can keep this doc, and then it's editable. You don't have to fill it in like while I'm chatting, just so you have it. I feel like it'll be helpful. You guys will probably, given what you be able to fill this out quite easily, just because I think that this is part of what you're really working towards. Oh, I'm just trying to open up my slideshow here. Okay, now I have to go back to Zoom. Here we go. Perfect. I'm going to share my screen. So yes, thank you. That's me. Have been working with Simply Elaborate for a very long time. This is my 12th year in business with specifically for it. So it's really like, I love doing these. I love helping people. I love that I was able to just listen to that and to this intro about creating workshops. So this workshop, I do why and I do how, just because well, this is special. I'm coming in. This is a little different. And so I do agree that usually it's one or the other. But for you, I am giving you a little taste of both. So this is just the admin stuff. You already have access to this Google Drive or Google Drive doc. Grab a pen or just listen, it's up to you. And so I've condensed this. I'll let you know that this is usually almost an hour, hour and a half long webinar, but I've condensed it for you guys. And I'm just going to let you know that we're going to go through my history and experience with websites. So, and how I learned. So you're not just going to see like my website, you're going to see like how I changed. Cause obviously I've had multiple designs on our site, before it is what it is now. And then I go through 5 steps. I tried to make it nice and easy. And then steps 1 through 4 are the why or the strategy based. And then step 5 is how I do the how. So it's considerably longer than the rest. And it works for an entire website. It works if you have like a sales page. It works if you have just an opt-in. It works if you're doing like these workshops, free or paid, that you guys are talking about. Basically, this will apply. So again, my name is Amelia and I'm a WordPress website designer. And like Kelsey already introed, I'm the co-creator of Simply Elaborate. And I have here the Launch It theme for WordPress. So this is where I've really turned my company or evolved it into doing custom websites to actually creating WordPress themes. So this is my fun. So I've been working with WordPress since 2002. And before that, I was coding HTML websites. And I'm going to show you the very first website that I ever coded, which was Taylor Hanson Rocks. Okay. So this is going back a really long time ago. So even then I was interested in the internet and learning about, I don't know what to do, how to make it work. And when I found this on Web Archive, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, you can look up like old websites. It's webarchive.org. Type in any website from back in the day and you will get like a snapshot. So this is my old snapshot. I remembered the address, thank goodness. And so what I found when I found this, I thought it was really interesting that this is a fan site, obviously, but it's actually for the fans. So I knew that Taylor Hanson and Bob, like they wouldn't be coming to my website. And so I really like restructured my site to be about the fans and really connecting with people. And so I found, I like, and I thought that's pretty kind of neat. In terms of like how I was already thinking about the people that are coming to the site, not the subject. So it's like, this website is really not for Taylor. It was for his fans. So 2010, and I was working with small business owners. I was just working with everyone because I thought that's how you make money, right? Like that's how you can get bigger and you expand. And there's truth to that. But in the end, I ended up being successful, but I was unhappy. And I felt like I had a corporate job that I wanted to get out of. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar of feeling like that. And then I was like, what the heck? So I like did all of this and like, sorry, I'm like looking like this because I have you guys on the side. So I am trying to stare at you. So yeah, this feeling of, oh, great. I did all this great, like amazing things. And now I'm like working 14-hour days and these websites are pretty and they're functional, but the people weren't really understanding how my strategy and my experience and my offering was going to help them. And so that's like also something too, that I like people to really get, that why it's like not all about money or it's not all about the bookings. If you're not happy with who you're working with, it doesn't really make sense. So I continued to research on how I could improve my website and discover how to attract people I wanted to work with and create websites for. So I primarily realized that I wanted to work with women. And so I redesigned my site to reflect that. So this is again from the Web Archives. You can see it says February 2014. This is very like, this was so different. I was very like, I had to be black and white. I had to be professional. And then I was like, you know what? I like lime green, because I want to work with people who don't care that I'm lime green. And that was kind of my thoughts. And business still attracted women, but I was working with a mix of corporate and still stiff feeling websites still. So I was like, okay, I need to dig right into deep. I took marketing courses. I took some more digging, continued to learn. And then I realized that my website was not speaking to my desired customer. And I wasn't telling the people or showing them how I would solve their problems. So once I really understood that, then everything kind of became easily done a little bit. I mean, obviously you still want to work on it, but that was like my result. So then I started really working on that with the clients. And in 2016, this was our first design, and it was all about the visitor. Get a strategy, get a website. First line was about who we worked with. And then the second design was really about health, wellness, and lifestyle industries, and all of the language narrowed into that. And now, sorry, I went too far. So it was really just about changing it up even more so. We got new images. Then our current redesign, the design has evolved, the website, who we work with, like everything has kind of changed. And this is really not the last look of it. And so I think all the last three, they've changed drastically. And it's just because we've evolved. So websites are always evolving and growing, and your business is no different. So your business is always going to evolve and grow, but you don't need a complete rebrand every time you update your site. Mine, I mean, we're a designer. I mean, it happens every time I want to change my site, but you don't need to do that. But I would recommend, if there is a significant change to your target customer and who you want to work with, and then most importantly, a change with the problem you solve, then it's a good idea to look at what you're putting out there and make sure it's still resonating. So those are the times that I would really do deep work into your site. Otherwise, you can probably always refresh the language every now and again, and maybe photos, especially if you're doing new challenges, new workshops, like you were just talking about. So step one, this is the first part of the strategy. If you have the documents open, you could fill in, but don't feel a need, because I correlate the questions pretty well so you can answer them later. So step one is know who you're attracting and who you want to work with. And I'd written something down. So something that Kelsey had just said like about 15 minutes ago is becoming aware, making sure they're aware. This is along those same lines. So especially if you're working with people that don't even know that they have this problem that you're solving for them, that's step one. You want to make sure that your website or your landing page or sales page is really answering that question of like that awareness, because you are either working with people who they know what they don't know, or they don't know what they don't know, and they're coming to you for the answer, and they're not on the phone with you yet. So that's huge. You have to pretend that you're on the website answering their questions for them. And that's kind of like really what is going to make it all different and have you stand above the rest or others in your industry, or just be like, just acknowledging that you hear them. So whether you are someone who likes to dig in and do it yourself, or you work with someone on your website, you just need to be clear on the situation. And this is also another thing that sometimes people kind of assume, that when you're working with other companies to help you, so this is like social media, like if you hire out any of your services, this is the number one question you just need to have the answer to, no matter who you're paying or hiring or doing it yourself. Because if you're not clear on who you want to work with, like they won't know if they're that person. And then if you're hiring other people to help you, they're not going to know who they need to sell for you or help you along your path. And it'll just be easier to focus if you're always thinking about them when you're going through your homepage or your about page, all of that. If you're always thinking about this person, my person's name is Julia. It's always the name that came into my head. I'm like, does this make sense? And then I'm like, does Julia think it's going to make sense? And that's kind of, it brings me back. So Julia is just my anchor to bring me back in case my ideas float and I go too far away. So some advice, this is a great way to go through why. So if you have a website already, ask yourself these questions. If you don't, while you're creating the work, just kind of keep these tips. So I would remove yourself from the situation, become your ideal customer for a moment, and then sit in front of your website and ask yourself as them, what do they need to see in order to complete the goal you have for your website? don't leave it all up to yourself to figure this out. So after you're done, ask people in your network to look at your website and give you some honest feedback about it. So you're in a great community here. You have people already. You want completely objective people looking at your site and understanding what you do or sell without any prior knowledge. And I think that's like going to be the most effective. Like, don't do that preamble, like, just, this is what I do, let me know if you think. Don't even say that. Let them figure it out. And I would say, don't ask your family and friends unless they are your target audience. But even then, I tread lightly, just because sometimes they're either too nice or they're too harsh, and you just need objectivity here. So, but you have a really great community. You guys probably wouldn't have this problem. But step 2, I mentioned about getting clear on the goal of your website. So step 2 is actually figuring out what that is. So there's generally 3. 1, is it to get people on your email list? 2, is it getting them to fill out a form on your website, like a booking form or more questions, depending on whatever it is that you're selling? Or do we want them directly to just go ahead and buy something or book a consult? So if you do have a shop or whatnot, generally, hopefully, you don't really want them to contact you before they buy a product, right? Just go ahead and buy it. So this could be different. It could be a blend of all 3 things, but one of these should be the main focus and primary goal. And again, it helps you focus. If you don't have a clear direction onto this question, your website. So again, all 3 seem great, right? I want all of these. But if you start kind of like focusing on all 3, it'll get confusing. So I would say to really choose for you. So if you're a person that finds that all you need to do is get a person on the phone and then they're booking with you, I would say get them to fill out a form on your website so that they can book a consult with you. But we can get creative. You can also have like them filling out that form is also getting them to agree to be on your email list. So it's kind of like blending of the 2, but the focus is let's jump on a call. Let's answer those questions and whatnot. So kind of that's where you get a little creative on your strategy there. Now that you've got this goal, are you making it apparent on your website that it's what you'd like them to do? So again, every page should reference it in some way. Now, I don't want you to put like the same question or the same language, like now, join the list, do this. You want to also always be referencing this problem that they're having, that you're solving. So if it's like just written a little bit differently on every page of your website, because on every page of your website, you're showing them something different. So the answer, which would be sign up for the email list, get on a call with me, it would just kind of be worded a little bit differently. And that's again where you're going to get creative on making it apparent that that's what you want them to do, not with repetition. Step 3, this is a huge thing that stumps a lot of people from like just going ahead and launching. I don't know where everyone is in the stage of your business, but if you don't have a website and you're in this stage, I see a lot of people get really hung up on their brand and that this is the focus. And then we're focused so much on like making the perfect logo and perfection in general that we miss the boat on that. Our customers don't really view this as that must have in terms of working with you, because the logo doesn't really do much other than, well, it shows who you are. It is brand awareness, but the brand awareness in that logo, we're not at these stages of like, that's it, I want to work with them because that logo has that kind of font. Like I've rarely heard someone, and ask yourself if you've ever paid money to someone because you liked their logo. And when you say, even if you liked their brand, like you might be saying, you know what, but I like their brand, but was it the colors of their brand, or was it the way they embodied their brand? Like Kelsey's brand is, she shows up for the client. Like you're on Instagram and there's like, I know Kelsey with the beige goldy color like that. I've assigned that to Kelsey in my head. But that's where that stops. Like, otherwise I'm like, okay, she's on Instagram. She really shows up for her clients. We have these like, those are the kinds of things for Kelsey's brand that I understand. And that's, I think, where we get stuck. So, again, with your brand and logo not needing to be perfect, I have this focus that it is way more important for you to focus on cultivating who your ideal clients are and cultivating your products and services towards this person than worrying about the perfect gold color, right? And I do believe that a beautiful brand is something that will help you stand out from the crowd, from your others in your industry. It doesn't need to cost a fortune. So some tips I have, if you guys don't have brands, is to just keep it simple. Beauty lies in the simplicity of what you can create. So you can create a Canva account, free or pro, play with some fonts, maximize 2 fonts, and write out your business name. I would make it easy, and I would actually even go as far to only select 1 font and then just make it nice and easy to read and it's clean. And then I would actually stay away from script or handwriting only because it can be a rabbit hole of approvals. Like if you know that you love one, like I'm not saying stay away because, I don't know, they're not good. It's only because sometimes we can just be like, oh, but this is pretty, or this is not pretty. Can you see this? Can you read it? And that's the only reason to just choose something. And you can always change your logo. This is not forever. And so that's kind of the goal there. I just have a few more. I would also stick with the horizontal logo for right now. It's more versatile for your website. If you know that you want or you already have a vertical logo, that's fine. But I would create a matching one that's also horizontal. And the reason being is that it generally will fit with more website themes, whether you're on Squarespace or WordPress or anything. Generally, the way that themes work, they just look nicer when they're horizontal. So that's why I would always have one. And after you're done, you can export a PNG or a transparent file out of Canva. To do a transparent logo, you do need a pro account, but they have like a 30-day free trial. And I would get it just so you can kind of get yourself that logo. So step 4 is really, this is what you need on every page of your site. And it's answering the 5 W's. So we all did this. Hey, depending on what age your kids are, you might be relearning this right now with your homeschooling. I don't know about homeschooling yet, but the truth is, for what people want on their websites is they just want to know what you do. It's as simple as that. So we really we stump ourselves with what should we have on the site. And if you can answer who, what, where, when, why, that's it. You've answered their question. So I know you're proud of what you do and you want to show it off, and you should be proud. You've worked hard to get where you are, but you'll be able to showcase all of that experience and know-how when you start working with your new clients. Your website is to just get them to book with you for now. Then you will share your process and they will learn all about your experience. But for now, just answer the questions, which is who, what, where, when, why. So these are questions that you'll ask on every page, the landing page, the sales page. So the who you are and are you going to help them? What you do and will it benefit them? Where you perform the services or ship to if you're product-based, and if it's available to them. When is the service or product available, and can they get it now, or do they have to be on a wait list? And then why is this service or product available and why do they need it? So each one of these questions is actually there's 2 parts of it, right? So this part is about you, so who you are. And then this part is about them. You must have this part. Are you going to be able to help them? How do you do that? And that's so important. So every page, everything you're doing, it's about you and it's about them. If you only do you, you will not entice them. If you only do them, well, then they won't know that you're the answer to their problem. So it's kind of like, it's a blended mix. It's very important. If your website can answer those questions for your ideal customer, then you've got this. It's kind of as simple as that. And now it's the how. So the step 4 is where you're really going to fill out that worksheet and answer all those questions. And I understand that it might actually take a long time, but I would try to encourage yourself to actually answer those questions really quickly. Like, what are your gut reactions? And then you can kind of fiddle with language and make it a little bit prettier, but in terms of flowery language, I'd stick with clear over clever. And then again, we just answer those questions, and how they can work with you is the ultimate umbrella answer to all those questions. So if you have a website already, I'd like you to go to it after and just be like, can your ideal client understand what you do? And is it easily accessible for those clients to book with you when they do figure it out? So this is a common problem that I see, is that we do such a great job of explaining what we do and showing, but then we forget about the like book now or like let's chat. And it's a simple thing and it seems so obvious, but you would be surprised how often we just forget about it. And a lot of us have hesitations about putting multiple opportunities for the person to book and work with us. And you don't want to go overboard, but you definitely don't want to just rely on the menu. But I'm getting ahead of myself, actually. I go through that. As I see in this next part, we actually are going to go through, I'm actually going to take you through some templates and just like literally show you on this block, you can do this. On this block, you can do that. And that's how, to make it just a little bit easier for you to understand what's the best hierarchy for each page. So the About page, it's about you, but it's not. And it's really about your ideal customer. Everything on this page should be carefully crafted to let them know how you are going to solve their problems and how you're going to do it together. And then of course, depending on what your actual service is, that's how we're going to do that. So this template example, this is Dr. Julia. Look at that. See, there's my Julia again. So the opening, she's saying hello to her customers, and there's a big why of what she's doing. So this is what you're doing. And then I like to include a story. I like to break it down into chunks. There's maybe put some options for photos, your history, your experience benefits their future. Your history and your experience. How does that benefit your potential clients' future? And that's where like the About page really becomes as powerful as it needs to be. A lot of people I've noticed in the past, they have really long stories. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you'll notice in this example, I've broken it up. It's a really nice way to break up long stories. I don't suggest super long stories. If your history and your experience benefits their future, then you need a long story. But I would break it up to make it easier to read, because people don't read like it's a novel, they skim. So the more you can kind of break things down for them, break it down into chunks, the easier that they're gonna like pull out some of those really key points. So there's more about the About. I love just to see the direct results. So as it's sliding, so see this pink part, some ways you help clients. I love breaking those down into cute little photos. So they could be, I use icons. You can use little photos. It's a nice way. Generally, you'll see this on people's websites as point forms, like a list. So sometimes I like to break those down into like little bite-sized chunks like that. It's easier for them to digest. I like having this way on the side, letting your visitor know how you plan on changing their life. So I've broken down the list items so it's easier to digest, and put a photo on the side. I like including large either testimonials, so where this pink quote looks like. You could either have a quote or put a testimonial, again, to break down just all the information they're getting. And then your services. I like to include services or packages or different things on your About page. And the language around them is, again, you're just kind of bringing them to other parts of your website. You want to continue the story. After they read the About page, then what, right? You like want to do more. So that's how I would just break it down. And this page, like this is just a quick little template. Yours might look a lot different in terms of, it might be longer. You might want to bring your services up a little bit more depending on how it works for your particular products. So the services page is created to properly showcase your services and packages. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Services and packages, but you want to remember to display the information in a way that's easy for your potential customer to view and understand. So intro and overview, again, you'll notice that I have another spot for testimonial or another quote. I know a lot of people like quotes. You just want to keep this simple. So a services page for sure, this is the meat of your website. Again, you'll notice that I only have the 3 light. if you have each of your packages is really like invasive in terms of information, I would actually have another child page, and your main services page, talk about your overall process, talk about frequently asked questions, have some more testimonials, and then have on your like internal services page more about that specific service. So because if we're asking them to do so much clicking here, this is the overall, this is what you get while working with me. Here's what you can expect. Here's the value I give. And that's kind of where you're really going to see the most value for helping that person really understand why you're the one for them. And I think that I would assume that Kelsey's on the same board here. You need your blog. You definitely need your blog. I need to even change the language on this slide. You do need it. You need a blog. And I know a lot of people are really hesitant to spend the time on the blog. But if you really look at it from a space of if you're on social a lot, then you have blogs. Because if you are, if you have like, if you're a person that has a lengthy caption on your Instagram post, great. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying take that caption and put it into a blog, write it out a little bit differently, make it a little bit longer. You have the opportunity to put more photos into it. And now you have a really great keyword SEO'd blog available at all times that Google will crawl. So Google doesn't crawl your social media accounts, but Google crawls your website. And that's like a way for you to, again, you're not doing more work. You're doing the same amount of work that you're already doing for social, but you're doing it in a more important place. And I will always say that your blog is more important than your social media, because once you post, I think we all have established that once you post to Instagram, you have no idea who's viewing it. You have no idea how long it's in a feed or what the algorithm is. It's so not timely. And it doesn't mean that that's not important, but it means that it could last longer on your blog. So your contact page is also one of the most important pages on your website. It's often overlooked in terms of functionality and design. So if someone has made it to your contact page, they have made it. So they have one foot in the door of becoming a client of yours, and they want to know more about you. So please don't make it difficult for people to get in contact with you or to work with you when they get here. It's the number one mistake I see people making on their websites. It's not telling people how to start the process or where they operate. So if you take clients worldwide, tell them, especially if you're in the health and wellness industry where traditional forms of service are in person. So this method is definitely changing right now in our current climate. So especially if you have recently pivoted or you just always offer virtual services, or you are selling a program that's virtual, make this apparent. If you are someone who does work with in-person visits, I like having a Google map just to kind of, again, let people know where you're from. This doesn't mean putting like your home address if you're working from home, but I definitely love having this form. So I'd mentioned this earlier. It used to be putting your just your email address on a contact page because that was actually less invasive. But now in 2020, it's actually better to have a form because a lot of people are coming from their phones. And I'm sure this has happened to you if you click something and then it's like, can I open in your Gmail app? Or no, but you're like, ugh, I don't want to do it. I know I do that. And I used to hate forms. Like, I think it was maybe 5 years ago. I was like, no, don't put a form. Things have changed. And this is a great opportunity to get people, you get their email address, you get to understand questions. So this, in this example, it's just a plain form, but you can ask specific questions about what you need to know, like to pre-qualify them. Your thank you page can be a link to your booking to consult with you. And then you have that opportunity that you've been able to chat with them. You'll have the opportunity to chat with them, but you have this information about them before so that you're more prepared. And then your homepage. And I save this for last because if you start with your homepage, and most people do, you might get stuck because it's really hard when it's the first thing you're doing. And I save it for last because if you could notice on this template option that is just floating by, you've actually already seen all of these blocks before. And so what I've done is you just kind of go through the rest of your site and you pull out the information from each page. And then you look how many buttons there are. There's so many call to actions, and all those call to actions are actually leading people to different spots on the website for more information. Again, I see people do a really beautiful homepage and they only have one call to action. It's all the way at the bottom, or it's left in the menu at the top. And that means you're relying on your visitor to do all the work. That does not mean that we think they're stupid or anything like that. It just means that they're there because they have a problem. They don't know how to solve that problem, and they don't want the first experience of your brand to be, well, I got to work so hard to solve this problem, right? Like the whole thing is that you help them either just getting it done for them, or you do it with them. And that's where the really important thing about the homepage becomes. So some must-haves. I love a slider or one image, if you just have that has a bold statement, call to action about who your ideal customer is and how you help them. So ours is like, if you're frustrated with WordPress, you've arrived at the right place. I love an opt-in or a sign up for your opt-in. These should be sprinkled throughout your entire site, but I love one right at the beginning. An overview of who you are and what you do. This could have somewhat of the same language from your about page, but not all of it, just a little, like a little teaser. I would have an overview of your services and packages, a testimonial, one or more, and again, links and a call to action throughout that encourage your visitor to keep going throughout your site and find more information. So I know I feel like I talked so fast, but I wanted to just respect the time. So you could let know in the chat or think about this yourself. What is your goal? Chat about this with Kelsey. What do you want people to do when they visit your site? And like really have that, where's my Zoom? I'm like, share. I forgot that this isn't my Zoom. I'm like so used to it. You could take away my share. There it is. There we go. So yeah, to always like answering these questions for yourself, again, depending on what, if it's a particular page, if you're selling something in specific and you have a sales page, to just always remember those questions to kind of bring you back. And I think, yeah, you have this great community here with Kelsey that you can always bounce those questions off of each other. But if you have any questions, I'm